Hey guys, welcome back to the Pulling Curls podcast. Today on episode 168, we are talking about organizing your playroom. We're specifically talking about those younger kids, but there's going to be things in here that's good for all ages. Let's untangle it. Hi, I'm Hillary Erickson, the curly head behind the Pulling Curls podcast, Pregnancy and Parenting Untangled. There's no right answer for every family, but on this show, we hope to give you some ideas to make life simpler at your house. Life's tangled, just like my hair. Today's guest is the curly head behind the TikTok and Instagram account baby.toddler.teacher. She also runs the website parentingexpertmom.com, and she is a research assistant in early childhood department in Indiana University. She has been working in early intervention for over 10 years. I want to introduce today's guest, Kayla O'Neill. Do you ever just feel like it's unfair that some people can have company over at a moment's notice? Their house is just super easy to clean up and they can relax on the couch with Netflix while you feel like you always have things to do around your house. That can totally be you. The Organized Home is here to help you simplify organizing. We're talking about decluttering, zones, organization systems that actually work. We've got assignments and challenges. I hope you'll join us. You can use coupon code UNTANGLED. Look for the Organized Home link in the show notes. Hey, Kayla, welcome to the Pulling Curls podcast.
Hello, good to see you.
Two curly-haired ladies.
We should talk about curls sometime.
I don't really even have much to say. They live their own life. I just live under them. Okay, so today we want to talk about playrooms, which you are an expert in.
Yes, I have some ideas for children that are about birth to 3 and how to kind of get going on that.
Okay, I think that's awesome because, parents, I think, envision like a Pottery Barn playroom, I think.
Yes.
In my mind, that's what I wanted. And I don't know if that's always the most great. So give us your tips. How do we make a great playroom for our kids?
Yeah, so I think you're exactly right. Like parents, we think about this aesthetic. Like we want it to just be pretty. We don't really think about creating a room that's really child-centered or functional for them. We just want it to look cute. And so I think when we're setting it up, that's one of the very first things that we really want to think about is how can it be functional for the child and not just that cutest aesthetic that we want as parents.
Yeah.
And so starting with that, when we're looking at where are we going to put toys? And a lot of people will pick tons of cute little shelves or almost kind of overcomplicate storage because like in our minds, when we like, I don't know, you're like the queen of organizing. Like, I'm sure you're like, I want to organize all of the little toys, right?
Right. And I want all of the Polly Pockets in one bin and I want all the animals in another bin, but somehow the Polly Pockets always wanted to play with the animals. And that was really disconcerting to me.
Yeah. And so when we think about like even birth to 3, like if we want our kids, because that's something that I worked with on parents are like, my child won't pick up toys. And sometimes our expectations are not developmentally appropriate for young kids. And especially that birth to 3, like, okay, can my baby really help me clean up toys? So if we think all the way back to like even that first year, how can a child even help clean up toys? Well, if we start with really simple storage, like, so when I think of before my son was born, I created a little playroom. And as far as storage in there were these 2 orange, like they were super cute, orange storage bins. They were like storage. Gosh, I can't think of the name of what it is. Like the large,
just like a big tote, big tub.
Storage bench.
Oh, okay.
What it was, because in my mind, and they had like soft edges. They were like almost like a leatherish feel. So the corners weren't sharp. So it was very, very functional storage because we could use that bench for that, like him to pull up and stand next to the window because it had beautiful windows in there. And then the storage bench, we could just dump all the toys in there. There wasn't a lot of organization when it came to how the toys were organized for that young, because at that point we don't want to set out a bunch of different things, because what do you think happens when we display tons of toys for little kids?
They just want to play with every single one.
We just pull them down. So if you can find storage that is functional in a way that kind of hides the toys so that you can pull them out one at a time and put them away one at a time, for that, when we're thinking especially that first couple of years, we want to keep it really simple, and then they're able to functionally help us put it away because it's simple enough. It's not overcomplicated, where if you can sort, you want to keep the pieces together. That's always important. You want to keep the pieces together. But if we get too complicated with storage when we're thinking that birth to 3, they can't functionally help and they get overwhelmed, like you said. If we have, which you'll see that a lot, and it looks gorgeous. You see these big, and for some people it might work, but from like an educational standpoint, like I think I've worked in classrooms and stuff. And when we alter that environment, we're going to get some different results as far when it comes to play. So if you have the beautiful, 16 cubes and a toy in each one, well, gosh, if I'm a kid, I'm going to pull that one. I'm going to pull that one. I'm going to pull that one. Where if they're out of sight, they can actually focus on that one toy at a time versus the 16 they want to pull down at once.
Right.
So that's what I would start with is, okay, really functional storage for toys. Keep it really, really simple. And it doesn't have to be a fancy bench. It could whatever works for you.
Yeah. So my first toy room was a laundry basket because we didn't have much room. So we just had an old cracked laundry, like the handle had cracked. And we would pull it out and then we could throw all the toys back in there. But when they're little, like you don't have tiny pieces before 3 or you shouldn't. So it is pretty easy to just throw whatever it is back in the laundry basket and then shove it under the table.
Yeah, that's perfect. And then it's functional because you can do it in any room because your child, that's the problem I ran into with having a playroom was it wasn't as functional for that birth to 3 because your child wants to be playing with you. So you're going to end up dragging those toys. So I kind of love that laundry basket. Like that should be the ideal playroom is something that you can move to room to what you got to do, Because I remember that I was like, okay, now I've got to sit in the playroom because they're not old enough to really be unsupervised, but I can't really get anything else done because I'm stuck in this playroom.
Right. What age do you recommend buying a toy for your kid? Really? Although your idea of toys are like mixing bowls and spoons and measuring cups,
True.
right?
I love using objects from real life for playing with kids, but there are lots of great toys and you can start, with those very simple baby toys. You can start with really good books, which I guess you wouldn't consider those toys, but some of the ones for babies are more playful, that are squishy or different feelings. And we want to have like teething toys and rattles and stuff. Like those things are great to have, but that's also, I think, when we're setting up toys or thinking about buying stuff, like buy things that are functional, that can be used from birth up. Like sometimes we buy stuff that's like, okay, it's only good for about 6 months or whatever, and then they don't play with it anymore. If we can look at toys as how can we pick out toys that are gonna stretch across time a little bit, like a good set of blocks, we can really use those from newborn and they will still play with them till they're 5, 6. If you get a good set, instead of just buying toys that are like, okay, this one's great for 3 months or whatever. So buying good quality toys, buying toys that you can use in a variety of different ways. We want to be careful with buying too many toys because then it just becomes a disaster when we just buy everything.
Yeah. We had some grandparents that like to send the very loud, flashy toys to us, which was super fun. It is fun to have 1 or 2 of those, I guess. And my kids always loved Grandma and Grandpa's presents opening them. So there's that.
Yeah, no. And I think you're right. Like those aren't the best because when you buy those really loud, flashy toys, the child doesn't actually play with them. They watch them and that's about it. You might get a little cause and effect from it, but it's a lot of not playing. It's more of a watching. They don't really get engaged with it. So buying a ton of that, I wouldn't recommend. But they're cool. And you go to the store and that whole first toy aisle, that is all it is. Like, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Is loud, bright, overstimulating toys for parents and children.
Yeah, parents too, because I'd be like, my kids still bring up some of the toys. One of ours, you could like punch on letters, like make a word, and it would always say, not a word, but a nice creation. Oh. My kids always will be like, that's not a word, but a nice. So,
say that.
Yes.
It's kind of funny.
Probably came up on the SAT for Spencer, but okay. So do you have more tips for little kids' playrooms?
So, I mean, I guess if we're talking a little bit about, toys, we want to make sure we avoid getting the too many toys syndrome. And I think you can tell if your child has too many toys, if they're doing things like they're bouncing from one toy to the next and they're never really engaging in anything. If there's toys like everywhere and you're just really struggling with keeping it clean at all. If it's time to clean up the toys and your children have no clue where the toys go, might be a sign that you have too many toys. So I think when we're thinking about setting up that playroom, being mindful of how many toys we're buying and making sure they're good quality, functional toys that will last more than just one stage,
Yeah. What do you think about like rotating out toys?
That was on my list. I think that's excellent. And like you said, like there are people and there's teachers, and my brain doesn't work this way, that have very like structured rotating toy rotation systems. I could never get that fancy. Mine was, like a black storage bin. And I would be like, okay, they're not playing with this one, this one, this one, this one. Put it in a bin, put it in the garage for a couple months, pull it back out. Hey, everything's brand new again. Toy rotation's an excellent idea, especially if you have too many toy syndrome going on.
Yeah. Big toy rotation fan, just because we had a really small house when we had lots of little kids at our house. So, and it doesn't have to be in the garage. It can be up high in the in the closet is a great place to put these, because your kids are that's like another world. They never think about anything that's up there.
And if you put it too far away, you'll forget about it. I'm pretty sure I might have done that, because it's like, oh, didn't we used to have all these toys? Like what? Oh, that's right. It's our toy rotation system that now it's gained cobwebs because I forgot about them.
Yeah. But
I think that's great.
I mean, it is a pain to switch out toys, but when you do, it was like an afternoon off for me. I could just kick up on the couch, read a book. They were entertained.
Yes. No, I love toy rotation, and be as simple or as complex, because there's some people that love to be complex with it, and they have, they'll pull out certain weeks. They'll be like, okay, this week we're doing dinosaurs. Next week we're doing cars or whatever. And they'll get really complex with it. And that's great. My brain doesn't work that way. I just was simply like not playing with it, put it away. So yeah, keep it as simple or as complex. Big fan of toy rotation.
Yeah. I usually just had like 3 bins. So I would just put everything in the bin, haul it in the garage, bring out the new bin, boom. That's probably the easiest way if you can like keep some. Yeah. I always wanted like a variety of things like puzzles or, I think if I got just dinosaurs, like I wouldn't be happy. So I wanted a variety.
Yeah. For sure. No, I'm kind of the same. I never really stuck with any sort of themes with anything. Like dinosaurs can be used lots of different ways. So, I'm not going to limit them to a week. Yeah. Dinosaurs are great in the bathtub. They're great in the sandbox. They're great for painting, like
killing people. Right?
Exactly.
Dinosaurs.
Exactly. They're dinosaurs.
Okay. So as your kid advances beyond 3, I know you have older than 3 at your house. How do you extend this just by buying a few more toys? Like, how do you move into those older ages where you have all the Polly Pockets?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I thought you were the expert on older children. My expertise goes to about 3. So if you have good advice for the 4 to 6-year-old range that I'm dealing with, where we don't have a playroom now. And like one thing a lot of experts will say is don't put toys in the bedroom, because it's like putting toys are a child's work. Like their work is to play. And so if you put toys in the bedroom, supposedly it can interfere with sleep. Now, we don't have it in the house that we live in now. We don't have a playroom. So toys are in the bedroom. And I try to, like I did with the little kids playroom, is try to keep them out of sight unless you're playing with them. So if you have places, if you have a closet, I'm a big fan of like storage where it's covered, you can hide them a little bit. Yeah.
It's hard.
It gets more complicated. And that's why I quit at 3, because now I don't know what to do.
You're not going to be able to answer my questions about my 22-year-old. Is that what you're telling me, Kayla?
Oh my goodness. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think my best tip is to simplify, and especially as we're getting into Christmas time. Here we are on Cyber Monday talking about toys, where parents are buying all these different kinds of toys. I really tried to have my kids whittle down what they really wanted for Christmas. Yeah. And then maybe I would buy them something that I thought was great and then cut it off.
Yeah. And I think, when you've got everybody else sending you stuff, a really good thing is to have people have some non-toy ideas for kiddos. I am such a big fan of that. Like we get so many toys. So what are some non-toy things that people can buy for the kids? Maybe it's a magazine subscription. I know that's really old school, but we are like obsessed with magazines at our house. They're so fun. The kids get so excited. If your grandparents live far away, and I remember this as a kid because that's what my grandparents would do. They'd each get us like a magazine subscription, like highlights or zoo books or whatever. And it was like this reminder that, oh, grandma and grandpa are sending me a magazine. And it's a reminder every single month. So have them do some non-toy gift options. So magazines, or maybe it's a museum pass or a state park pass, or maybe a dance class or something like that. We don't always have to give toys, but I think people always want to give toys. So maybe it's a good idea to have some of those non-toy ideas
in a pocket
for parents or grandparents, aunts, uncles, stuff like that, because they don't have to deal with the toys.
Yeah, it's true. And I love that because my parents have done like subscriptions. There's like the Kiwi crate where they can get it every month, and then it just engages them, and you get bonus points every month, and it gives you something to talk about with the kid where they're like, hey, did you get your Kiwi crate? You can send that to grandma and grandpa. If your parents live far away, it's just a great way to stay engaged. Do you have any magazines you love for the 5-year-old-ish?
I love Highlights still. That classic is still just as good as you remembered as, I don't know if you had, I had it as a kid.
Oh yeah. Big
And
Highlights fan.
it's still so good. And like my child is 6, he's about to turn 7. I think we started getting our Highlights because you can get it from baby on up. Like they have a baby version for Highlights, for Zoo Books, for all those goody ones. And I think we started getting Highlights for him when he was 2 or 3. And that version was excellent. And now we still get it as a 6-year-old. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Highlights. I'm a big fan of the animal magazines because I feel like all kids love animals. I haven't met one that's like, I hate animals. So any of the Animal Live. And like I said, a lot of these magazine companies, they go all the way down to birth. So you can start them young, have that subscription. So those are my favorites, I would say.
Yeah, we got Cricket. Is that even still out there? Like
it is. I've never gotten that one though.
Yeah, we really liked Cricket. And then there's ones that advance. So you can always change your subscription if you're like, this is getting to be, there's like Ladybug when they're tiny and Crickets when they're older. And there's like a space one. So magazine subscriptions are such a good idea. I think people worry that their kids just going to trash it, but my kids really like treasured the magazine and it was really important to them. So
well, it's like you can not only use them just for reading and looking at, but then it's like you can use them for making a fun collage. Like it's such a random activity, but doing stuff like that with them too, like you can keep using the magazine or let them cut out their favorite pictures and hang them up on the wall or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's something I think people forget about because a lot of people don't get newspapers. A lot of people don't get physical print, but it's really important for a lot of different reasons. And just altering it that little bit, you can kind of tap into a bunch of different skills. So,
yeah, and it's not as good on your Kindle.
No, it's not.
A book almost is like, when my kids are reading like The Babysitter's Club or whatever as a book on their Kindle, but a magazine is not as good.
And it's the trip out to the mailbox, the excitement, like, is my magazine there yet? Like that anticipation. Like I just remember that feeling as a kid, like, is it Highlights Day? And we'd run out to the mailbox and check it. And I don't know. I love it.
I love that idea. So if you are looking at experiences, museum passes, zoo passes, there's so many different options. So ask around in your area when your parents are saying, what should we get Johnny for Christmas? Encourage them to buy experiences. Yes. Or take your kids for a week.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah. My parents. So
yeah, same.
All right. Such good information, Kayla. Thank you so much for coming on. Now, you guys, Kayla has classes for birth to age 3, and they are amazing, and they are right in your budget. Because I know a lot of you are like, oh, they're like $500, like those prenatal classes out there. They are not. They are in your price point, and you can engage your baby, your 1-year-old, your 2-year-old. Anything you want to tell us about your classes, Kayla?
Yeah, they're very functional. They're based on daily routine. So it's not one of those things where you're like, okay, I need to find my pipe cleaners, my pom-poms, and a list of things. This is stuff that you can do every day because what we found is that kids learn best through repetitive practice. And one of the best ways to do that is being more mindful through daily routines. So that's kind of the gist of the really important part. Is maybe it's a little different from other things you've seen, but it's not a bunch of high prep, more pressure activities. It's getting into a different sort of mindset of looking at your day and looking for those everyday moments that could be really functional and learning experiences for babies and toddlers.
Yeah. And instead of having cards, you could have your kids match your socks. Then I'm all about that.
And how many times do you do laundry? I mean, do people not? I mean, laundry's like constant. Laundry is one of my favorite routines to work in.
The kids always love laundry. Bless their hearts. You know what? My kids don't love laundry now, though. I'm going to be really honest. That ends. So if your kids are loving laundry, love it with them. All right.
Yeah. Enjoy it.
And definitely follow Kayla on TikTok, Instagram. She has so many good ideas. Oh, what's your TikTok handle?
Baby.toddler.teacher.
Yeah.
And that's the same on Instagram and TikTok.
And if you're wondering if you got the right one, she has bright curly hair. So that's your gal. All right. Thanks for coming on, Kayla.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. And if you did, and if you have kids ages 6 months to 3, be sure and follow Kayla on TikTok. I would definitely say to take one of her classes, but at the very least, make sure that you are following her because she gives so many good tips for, keeping our cool, keeping your kids engaged, helping your kids learn. So many good tips. So check out Kayla at baby.toddler.teacher on Instagram and TikTok. Stay tuned for next week where we are talking about being positive for a C-section, and then we'll be back with a Christmas episode the week after that. Thanks so much for joining us on today's episode. The Pulling Curls podcast grows when you share us on social media or leave a review. If you do, please tag us so that we can share and send you a virtual hug, which frankly is my favorite kind of hugging. Until next time, we hope you have a tangle-free day.